Now, I bring that up because I had a similar moment on Wednesday. Obviously, here in Canada, we know that Wednesday brought about one of the worst mass shootings in Canadian history on Tumbler Ridge. And it dominated the news that morning. It dominated the conversations at the coffee shop. When I got to the office, people were talking about it here. And on Wednesday mornings, we sit down and we have a Wednesday morning Eucharist where we read the readings for the next Sunday. And as we read and reflected on the readings, obviously Tumbler Ridge came up. And we read the story of Jesus' Transfiguration, and I remember sitting there just thinking, so what does the Transfiguration say to us in this time? What does the Transfiguration say to us about who God is and maybe where God is in the midst of this horrible tragedy? Now, I have had several reflections as I've thought about that over the course of these last couple of days, but I just want to mention one, because it's one that I think we don't always reflect on. You know, often when we think about the Transfiguration, we spend a lot of time talking about the shining aspect of Jesus, and that's fabulous, and there's a whole lot going in there. But because we spend so much time thinking about that, I think sometimes we forget about what happens afterwards. See, the fact is, Jesus doesn't stay on the mountain. It would have been easy for Jesus to stay up there, wouldn't it? Peter actually says, let's build 3 shelters, and let's have one for you and Elijah and Moses, and let's just stay up here. And it would have been very easy, probably, for Jesus to say, actually, that's a really good idea. Why go back down and deal with the ills of the world? Let's stay up here where everything is safe, where everything is holy, where everything is comfortable. And when people get their act together and want to come up and see me, then they can do that. But Jesus doesn't do that. He actually walks back down the mountain. And we know that the Transfiguration kind of marks this moment where Jesus begins to turn his face towards Jerusalem, and he begins to walk intentionally towards the cross. See, the Transfiguration, the glory of God shining through Jesus, is intimately connected with the crucifixion. The glorified one is also the crucified one. In some way, Jesus, shining with the brilliance of his Christness, is seen most fully in the place where Jesus takes the wounds of humanity upon himself.